Well, now, as of this June 15th, a month ago, now we're in crypto summer. So my guess is that between now and the halving in April, we'll drift slowly and calmly up toward that fair value. And then what happens is after the investors get their fill, buying the asset below fair value, then the speculators come in. Well, what's a speculator? Speculator is just the opposite of a hedger. Well, what's a hedger? A hedger is someone that has to sell something because they're producing it, like the miners, right? They're selling their Bitcoin as they produce it to pay for electricity and machines. Well, a speculator just takes the opposite side of that. They're not good, bad, or indifferent. They're just,
right.
There's a seller, there has to be a buyer. For every seller, there's a buyer. For every buyer, there's a seller. So that pushes us up above kind of fair value. Well, then what happens is we get the parabolic, crypto fall, kind of the Indian summer, the big move. And that's where the punters come in, right? Yeah. The really levered.
Yeah.
And they're going to push the price way above fair value. And then we'll have another crash, another crypto winter. But so I would say that's a long-winded way of saying kind of between now and the halving in April, my guess is we drift upwards towards 50K. From April to the following April, that's where I think we could double or even treble into the fair value. By then will drift upwards toward that 100K, which is what I think is fair value for this halving.
Hedge fund manager Mark Yusko believes you have 9 months to get as much crypto as possible before the parabolic move upwards comes. For those that haven't heard of Mark, he's the founder and current chief investment officer of the hedge fund Morgan Creed Capital. So it's suffice to say he has his pulse on the sentiment of institutional and high net worth individuals when it comes to crypto. Revealed in his latest interview this week on the Paul Barron Network, Mark predicted that he thinks investors have just over 9 months to stack as much crypto as possible before the Bitcoin halving, which will signal the beginning of crypto autumn. Crypto autumn is when speculators and punters return to the market and is characterized by the face-melting rallies and parabolic moves upwards. Until then, Mark Yusko believes we will see Bitcoin slowly drift upwards in price towards what he believes is its current fair value, which is $55,000 per coin. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where Yusko explains why BlackRock have essentially a 100% chance at getting approved for a spot Bitcoin ETF and why it's such a massive moment for the industry. Also guys, I have just launched a daily 5-minute crypto newsletter. I was so sick of seeing people charge hundreds to thousands of dollars per month for on-chain crypto reports. So to give out as much value to you as possible, I am sending out a 5-minute daily newsletter which will cover expert predictions from figures such as Cathie Wood, top experts breakdown of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news that you need to know, all in a nutshell. And my promise to you is it will be completely free forever. Click the first link in my description, enter your email to join over 2,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now. If you don't like it, I will personally send you $1 whole, so you literally have nothing to lose. Here's Mark Yusko and his crypto outlook.
I mean, I hate to say it because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but I think we're really just getting started. The cyclicality of digital assets is real. It's this 4-year cycle. And why do we have a 4-year cycle? Fear and greed. And it's kind of baked into or coded actually into the way Bitcoin in particular works, right? You have these block rewards, the amount of money or the amount of Bitcoin that is rewarded to miners for securing the network. Every 4 years, that number gets cut in half. Now, whoever thought of this, whoever he, she, they, Satoshi happens to be, it's absolutely mad genius. Well, why is it mad genius? Well, it creates movement. Well, why does it do that? Well, if you think about it, the miners, their core costs are basically fixed, electricity and the machines. And so if suddenly your revenues were cut in half because the block rewards get cut in half, most of them go out of business. So what has to happen? The price has to rise. So there's a built-in movement of the price. And once the price starts to rise, people start to follow, right? That's what traders do. They look for movement. Yep. And then that creates more movement. And so we get this exacerbation of the trend. Now, part of the problem is it starts undervalued because the beginning of the cycle post the halving usually occurs around, a period after the crash, the previous crash.
Right.
So we have crypto winter, prices fall, prices are undervalued, anticipation of the next halving comes along, and investors start accumulating assets. Well, what's an investor? An investor is someone who buys an asset that sells below its fair value. So today, fair value, depending on the model that you look at, the model I like, which is based on Metcalfe's law, says that fair value of Bitcoin is around 55K. So at 30K, we're below that. So as an investor,
Sure.
I like to buy assets that are below fair value. Well, then what'll happen is as you get out of crypto winter into crypto spring, which a year ago we went into crypto spring, as we talked about, it's choppy, it's volatile. You kind of don't end up much different. I think over the past year, we're up about 50%. Now, that's a good move, but it's not the 100% off the cyclical low, but it's a nice move. Well, now, as of this June 15th, a month ago, now we're in crypto summer. So my guess is that between now and the halving in April, we'll drift slowly and calmly up toward that fair value. And then what happens is after the investors get their fill, buying the asset below fair value, then the speculators come in. Well, what's a speculator? Speculator is just the opposite of a hedger. Well, what's a hedger? A hedger is someone that has to sell something because they're producing it, like the miners, right? They're selling their Bitcoin as they produce it to pay for electricity and machines. Well, a speculator just takes the opposite side of that. They're not good, bad, or indifferent. They're just, there's a seller, there has to be a buyer. For every seller, there's a buyer. For every buyer, there's a seller. So that pushes us up above kind of fair value. Well, then what happens is we get the parabolic, crypto fall, kind of the Indian summer, the big move. And that's where the punters come in, right?
Yeah.
The really levered.
Yeah.
And they're going to push the price way above fair value. And then we'll have another crash, another crypto winter. But so I would say that's a long-winded way of saying kind of between now and the halving in April, my guess is we drift upwards towards 50K. From
when you look
April to the following April, that's where I think we could double or even treble into the fair value. By then will drift upwards toward that 100K, which is what I think is fair value for this halving. The early adopter move is over, right? I mean, we're past the kind of 11% early adoption. You think about the S curve. You get the first 10, 11% over the first decade. You get the next 80% over the next decade, and then the maturity, after that. And so I think we're past early adoption. Now, part of the challenge is the law of large numbers, right? When we went from the first halving from 10 to 100, 10x move, that was pretty easy because you're talking really tiny numbers, didn't need a lot of volume to get to $100 a coin. I mean, and then you went to 100 to 1,000, another 10x move. And that's a little harder, but still pretty easy. You go to 1,000 to 10,000, that was the last halving. That was tougher, although we went right through 10,000, right up to 20,000 before the crash. Well, this halving, I think, is 100,000 at fair value. So it's a 10x between halvings. Why 10x? There's lots of different reasons for why that works on the Metcalfe's law parabola, but let's just say we get to that 100,000 for fair value.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot harder to go from 10,000 to 100,000 than it is from 1,000 to 10,000, right? Just need more people, more dollars.
Yep.
The market cap gets bigger. We're talking trillions, plural, as opposed to half a trillion. So I think it will be tougher to get the same kind of percentage move, but the total dollar move will be much bigger.
Yeah.
And that's where this supply demand comes in.
Exactly.
Not if, but when. And I believe when BlackRock is awarded their crown and they become the king and they get the first Bitcoin ETF, even though they don't, I won't say deserve it in the sense that They were not doing the early adoption work. They were not, the ones there believing in it. But now they are part of the inner circle and they know who to influence. I won't say anything negative, but they know who to influence to get the job done. Yeah. And so I think they'll get the first one. Now, whether anyone else gets it, I don't know. I look at the gold ETF, right? The gold ETF delayed 4 years. 4 years we waited for the gold ETF. And then they gave it to one group. GLD took off. Now, there are other gold ETFs that came along, right, but they're much smaller. GLD really is the axe.
Yeah, well, it's the first mover.
It probably plays out this way.
Yeah, the first mover always has these kinds of advantages, especially in a market that's moving so quickly like crypto.
Sadly, cycles repeat. So we will have another bear market, right? After we run, because again, I say, it's just me, I say fair value for this halving sometime in 2024 is 100K. Okay, that's my view. Okay, I think we'll go far beyond that because greed and speculative fervor and leverage. Now, I don't think there'll be as much leverage this cycle, Paul, as there were in the last ones.
Right.
So, could we get to 200K? Could we get to 250K? Tim Draper and I have talked about that 250 number as kind of half the value of gold. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
But then we'll have another
there's
crash.
Still a lot of room, for sure.
But then, think about it. The next halving, which is in 2028, I will argue that's another tenfold increase as we get broader adoption and we go up the Metcalfe's law curve. That takes us to $1 million a coin. Let's say we go from 30K where we are today. Mm-hmm. Let's say we go to 150K. But then if we go from 150K to $1 million, that's 6-7x. That's not that different. And actually, the 5x we're talking about is really 10 because we started from 15, not from 30.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really a 10x. You go back to the 13 bull market, we had like a 40x move. Mm-hmm. Then the 17 bull market, we had a 20x move. This time we probably have a 10x move. And the next one, we probably have a 5x move. So the order of magnitude in terms of total dollars is much bigger.
Sure.
But the multiple is smaller just because of the law of large numbers.
So there's Mark Yusko's predictions for the next 9 months, which he believes is crypto summer. With the Bitcoin halving on the horizon and crypto autumn expected to follow, the timing may never be better to increase your crypto holdings. Remember, according to Yusko, Bitcoin is slowly drifting upwards towards its fair value of $55,000, suggesting a potential opportunity for investors to buy in before a potential parabolic rally. And that's not to mention the potentially game-changing impact of a BlackRock approved spot Bitcoin ETF, which he believes has nearly a 100% chance of approval. As we always say, stay informed to stay ahead. Be sure to subscribe to my daily 5-minute crypto newsletter to keep up to date on these trends and more, including expert predictions, on-chain crypto breakdowns, and all the latest breaking news. And remember, this resource is completely free and it always will be. Just click the first link in my description and enter your email to join the 2,000 plus strong community of savvy crypto investors. If you decide it's not for you, I'll personally send you $1 whole, so there's absolutely nothing to lose. Anyway guys, hope you all enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.